Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing Resident Evil Apocalypse, the second live action movie. Released in 2004, the film starts off with a recap of the first movie, which ended with Alice and one other survivor managing to escape Umbrella's secret underground lab named the Hive, before being captured by Umbrella scientists, and Alice waking up in a hospital, then making her way to the streets of Racoon City, which lie in ruins where the T-virus outbreak has already begun. We then see some Umbrella scientists, like at the end of the last movie, opening up the doors of the Hive, and a bunch of BOWs quickly overrun them, showing us how they escaped. Next, we see a convoy of 4x4s and a helicopter going to pick up important members of Umbrella to evacuate them, including someone called Dr. Charles Ashford from his home and his daughter Angie from school. This might be a vague reference to the Ashford family from Code Veronica X, but it's more likely just a coincidence. But then the car at the rear of the convoy with Angie in it randomly gets T-boned by a truck for some reason, and none of the others bother turning back to help. They just leave them there to rot, I guess. You could argue that she's not important to Umbrella's goals and that's why they didn't turn back, but if they really don't care enough about Angie to do that, then why even bother picking her up from school in the first place? I feel this section maybe could have been expanded on a little. Maybe the truck driver could have been the guy from the opening of Resident Evil 2 who says, "Why'd you bite me?" I think that would have been a cool little reference to the games and would have shown us why the lorry crashed into them instead of it seemingly just happening by chance. Now we see Jill Valentine, and on some newspaper clippings she has, we see that she has been suspended from the police department, and bloody hell, the actress they got to play Jill actually looks like her, which is apparently too much to ask for these days. Like, what do we even need Alice for? Can't she be the main character instead? I guess maybe she's just a no-name actress who no one's heard of, but does anyone really say, "Oh, Mila Jovovich, wow, I must go see that if Mila Jovovich is in it"? And then Jill goes to the police station and shoots some zombies and saves some people. I think the film's saying the mansion incident did occur then, but I thought they changed it in the first movie and that didn't happen, but it's unclear and not told to us very clearly. Then we see a helicopter with UBCS soldiers, including Carlos. I think he's played by that guy who was in Deuce Bigelow and The Mummy Returns, and also Nikolai, who's ginger for some reason. Do you even get ginger Russian people? Is that a thing? I've never really thought about it before. He's supposed to have white hair, even the remake got that right. So Carlos jumps out the helicopter and tries to save a woman on a rooftop, but she's been bitten and jumps off so she doesn't turn into a zombie. Then we're at a checkpoint Umbrella have set up and have control over, and not, say, the US Army or the police for some reason, where they are letting people evacuate, but then some people turn into zombies and the bad guy of the movie, who's an Umbrella executive, makes them close it, so now everyone is trapped in the city with no way out. It's here where we're introduced to another character who's a member of STARS as well, but I can't even remember his name. He's just some guy who tags along with Jill. Why not, instead of this guy, make him Brad instead? At least that would make the character more interesting, as it's actually someone from the games, instead of this guy who's kinda just there. They did a good job casting Jill, so if they got someone who looks like Brad there alongside her, that would have been cool. We could have even gotten the bit where Nemesis kills him, but no, this stand-in for Brad just dies by a zombie bite later on. So maybe the remake of RE3 took more inspiration from this film than the actual game it's based on. These days that honestly wouldn't surprise me. We then get a pretty good scene resembling the opening of Resident Evil 3, with a showdown between the RPD and UBCS with the zombies overrunning them. Crikey, it's actually like the games. This bit was surprisingly good and accurate. So we then see Alice going into a gun shop to find weapons, but this was also a bit of a missed opportunity too, because they didn't make it the gun shop from RE2. Why not just call it the Kendo gun shop? It would have been cool, like, if Alice is scrounging for ammo, but then there could have been a jump scare where we think something's creeping up behind her, but then we see it's actually Robert Kendo, and she breathes a sigh of relief, but then some zombies smash through and eat him. They could have done this instead of the short bit with the vicar, which is coming up in a sec, and they could have done the same kind of thing as that, but make it more game accurate and relevant. So then Jill, the Brad stand-in, and a reporter who's joined them take shelter inside a church, and there's some lickers in there. It was cool to see lickers again, but I think since this movie is pretty much a movie of Resident Evil 3, they could have made them hunters instead to give us something different. Jill then finds the vicar of the church, and he's been feeding people to a zombie who's his sister or something, but it gets loose and bites him. This whole bit was like a minute long. Seems like it was supposed to be longer, but was really short and pointless and didn't really add anything. They might as well just cut it out. And with the lickers, we see through their point of view, like through their vision, which was a strange choice as lickers don't even have eyes. Then Alice breaks through the window on a motorbike for some reason and crashes it into one of the lickers and then shoots the petrol tank. And again, like the first film, the bullets are made by Umbrella for some reason, and that blows it up, even though in real life shooting petrol doesn't make it explode. I didn't like this bit as it was very over the top, but also makes Jill look useless because she doesn't really do anything, but Alice just rolls up and kills all the lickers in like 30 seconds. They could have at least let Jill kill one of them. Then there's the bit where this guy Jill saved from a zombie in the police station runs over a zombie and says GTA mother effer. I remember thinking that was cool as a teenager when I first watched the film, because I played GTA back then when it was at its peak with Vice City and San Andreas, that kind of time. Everyone at school was into GTA and it was pretty much all me and my friends used to talk about. But then he crashes his car and has to continue on foot. We then return to the RE3 shootout with Carlos and the others. In their group there's Carlos and Nikolai and a third guy, but his name's Yuri. Like, why change the name of the third guy and not just call him Mikhail? Then the RPD officers and UBCS get overrun like in the RE3 intro, and we see the reflection in the SWAT helmet, which was cool. Then we get a scene in the graveyard of the church with more over-the-top action and them killing zombies hand to hand and snapping their necks and karate kicking them. Then there's a bit that was pretty cool where the Umbrella guys activate Nemesis and we see him on a hospital table waking up, which they did later in the remake of the game. Then a helicopter drops him his weapons, which kind of resembled where Mr. X gets dropped by a helicopter in the original Resident Evil 2 game. Then that guy who crashed his car meets his he meets some more STARS members who are held up inside the cinema. I think they're probably setting up a safe house to bring survivors to, but Nemesis shows up and shoots them, but leaves the other guys. He's a civilian and not a threat. And now Dr. Ashford rings up Jill and Alice on a payphone and makes a deal with them to find his daughter at the school where she's been hiding. Then Nemesis shows up again and chases Alice, but she gets away. They then get to the school and Jill finds the girl. Then Nikolai saves them, but he gets killed by some zombie dogs. He doesn't turn out to be a baddie in this film. He's a good guy until he just randomly gets killed out of nowhere. During their escape from the school, Jill turns on some ovens and throws a match to set it on fire like in Resident Evil 3. But this is the film, and Paul Anderson made Jill useless and the match goes out, and of course Alice is the one who does it instead. They could have made Jill do something cool, but Paul was like, no, it has to be Alice. So now in the film, they reach the helicopter that Dr. Ashford told them would pick them up, but there's some umbrella goons guarding it. There's a bit where a sniper is aiming at Carlos and the scope says locked on. How the hell does a sniper rifle lock onto somebody? Then she runs down the side of the building and beats up some umbrella motorcyclists. So now Nemesis is coming and they tell the pilot to take off, but the bad guy has a gun and ties them up. Then the bad guy makes Alice fight Nemesis unarmed in hand-to-hand combat, but she beats him because of course she does, it's Alice. But then she remembers Nemesis was Matt from the first film, and the infection he got by getting scratched by the liquor mutated him into Nemesis. Then Nemesis turns good and helps them. Then Alice does the thing like at the start of Code Veronica X with the helicopter shooting the glass and dropping the gun but catching it and shooting the baddies. Then while helping them, Nemesis gets killed and then they pwn the baddie, which was pretty funny, and fly away in the helicopter, but as they're escaping, the town gets nuked and they crash. Then Alice wakes up and has been cloned or something, I don't know, and then like the other goodies are with Umbrella now or something, but I'm not sure. I really didn't get the point of the ending and it didn't make much sense. Maybe it's setting up the next film, but I haven't seen that one yet. And that's where the movie ends. So overall, I thought Resident Evil Apocalypse was an okay film. It had a decent bit of stuff to do with Resident Evil 3, with Jill and Nemesis and Racoon City being the setting. It could have been way better though, but not as bad as other people say it is in my opinion. Just like the first film, it started off good, but then went downhill and had more than its fair share of dumb moments. I think with a few tweaks, and if they actually made it scary, it could have been really good. I'd probably give it a 5 out of 10 if I was to give it a number rating. An alright film. At the end of the day, I did find it entertaining. Worth watching if you like the games and aren't too much of a purist. But it shouldn't be taken seriously, and the story isn't told anywhere close to the same quality as it was in the original Resident Evil 3. So thanks for watching my review of Resident Evil Apocalypse. What were your thoughts on the film? Were you entertained but left hungry for a more accurate Resident Evil cinematic experience like me? Or did you just flat out hate it? Or do you love it? Why not let me know in the comments section? And before you go, make sure to smash the like button, hit subscribe, and enable notifications if you're interested in hearing from me again. And I will see you next time.